Okay, this is from SF Gate, San Francisco Gate. Leaving the fold, third-generation Scientologist grows disillusioned with faith. By Don Lattin, dated February 12th, 2001. Very interesting way to phrase it, don't you guys think? She's disillusioned. Oh, look. Kids being trained with a teddy bear. No, they're not kids, but of course they would never show that, would they? Astor Woodcraft, apostate and defector, is the latest enemy of the Church of Scientology. Go check out some of her videos. Woodcraft, 22, never really joined this controversial psycho-spiritual movement. Yeah, because kids can't consent. At least not as a free-thinking adult. Astor was born into it. Founded in the 1950s by L. Ron Hubbard, a prolific science fiction writer and freelance philosopher, Scientology describes itself as the only major new religion established in the 20th century, as a bridge to increased awareness and spiritual freedom. Woodcraft, a third-generation Scientologist, paints a different picture. Listen closely to the wording, you guys. Listen so closely. Recruited at age 14 into the movement's elite. There we go with that BS story. See organization. Isn't it funny how all the mass media articles always say the same thing? No shade to them. I'm just saying, like, elite. Are you kidding me? What, child slave organization? Woodcraft describes a brave new world. Huh, where have we heard that one before, you guys? Of authoritarianism, greed, and spiritual manipulation. 2 generations of her family have been torn apart by Scientology. Holding her 2-year-old daughter, Kate, in her arms, Woodcraft vows that there will be no 4th generation in her clan. I don't want her to have any connection to Scientology, said Woodcraft. Just for anyone who didn't know, that's called maternal protection. It's called maternal instinct right there. Don't let it be stamped out. All cults have problems with apostates. It's because the same people created all of them. Insiders who leave the fold and denounce their former faith, but the Church of Scientology plays hardball with defectors, investigators, and others seen as church enemies. Anyone who asks the question, he'll be sent to ethics, including children. They are very hard on apostates, said Gordon Melton, director of the Institute for the Study of American Religion in Santa Barbara, and the author of a recent scholarly study on the Church of Scientology. I've been trying to get a hold of some of these journals. I'm not paying, like some of those sites, they're pretty expensive. I'm going to find a way to do that. Church leaders make no apologies for their vigorous defense of the faith. Please. Scientology is something people feel very, very strongly about, said Jeff Kairos. Anyone know if this dude's still there? Or maybe he's in the RPF right now. A church spokesman in San Francisco. It's not a go to church on Sunday kind of religion. Gaslight much? It's an intense religion. Mind control's like that. If people get in your way, they need to be dealt with, one way or another. Ooh, is that a threat, you guys? That sounds like an open threat printed in a mass media newspaper. Huh. Weird. Threats and intimidation, anybody? Maybe Jeff wants to ruin someone utterly? 2 ways the church deals with critics, and we just have to keep going with the Scientology lingo. 2 ways the church deals with questioners are lawsuits, its own undercover investigations. Oh, to include, let's not forget, a lot of the PIs are either retired police officers or police officers that got into trouble and needed some money. I'm talking about the police officer that were kicked out. In public denunciations of those attacking the church. Ooh. Make it rough on attackers all the way. Hubbard once advised his troops. Start feeding lurid blood sex crime. You know what that reminds me of is a cultic ritual, but I digress. Start feeding lurid blood sex crime actual evidence on the attack to the press. Given those instructions, it is not surprising how church leaders, prestigious executives, responded to Woodcraft's allegations. She has made a decision in her life that her religious values and what she got from Scientology, how it saved her from drugs and a life of promiscuity. All the women are so promiscuous, that's why you guys keep hiring them? Is that why? Acquiring MF minds want to know. They always say the same things, by the way. It's so misogynistic. They called Paulette Cooper, they tried to tell all of her neighbors that she was a prostitute. They also said the same thing of Susan Meister. I'll bet you Susan Meister said no to a few of them, don't you think? And they love the drug one as well. How it saved her from drugs and a life of promiscuity and petty crime, blah, blah, blah. All are irrelevant, said international church spokesman Aaron Mason. Now she's hoping the Church of Scientology will pay her to shut up. What a joke. Somewhere between Woodcraft's Orwellian tale and Mason's fierce response is a lesson, a story about how authoritarian movements deal with anger and apostasy of children raised in their midst. Oh, the children weren't raised. They were farmed. They were farmed just like what Jamie Mustard talks about. Born in England to Scientology parents, Astor Woodcraft came to the United States when she was 7 years old. Let's see if Mommy comes with her. Her mother, Leslie, had crossed the Atlantic to attend advanced auditing sessions at a large Scientology training center in Clearwater, Florida. Scientology is based on the precepts of Hubbard's 1950 books, allegedly, Dianetics, the Modern Science of Mental Health. Practitioners at Scientology centers around the world hook themselves up to a simple electric device, an e-meter, for auditing, sessions that purport to measure thoughts and emotional reactions known in Scientology parlance as engrams. Their goal is to attain psychological and spiritual state called clear, where they are said to overcome compulsions, repressions, and other self-generated diseases and psychoses. Clearly, it's not working. Clears are then sold advanced training sessions, like kids, to become operating thetans, spiritual beings said to possess such supernatural powers as the ability to leave their bodies. You don't need to be in Scientology to do that. It's called an out-of-body experience. Operating as a thetan does not come cheap. Of course not. Scientologists purchasing 12.5 hours advanced auditing, like kids or their parents. Usually the parents pay for the kids' auditing, or they just make the child work for their auditing. Isn't that wonderful? Kind of like, what is it called? Debt servitude, debt bondage. 12.5 hours of advanced auditing, for example, are asked to make a donation of between $12,100 and $15,125. Graduates purportedly achieve a new viewpoint of sanity and rationality. Clearly, or apparently, I should say, L. Ron Hubbard never got that, did he? It's my opinion. It was a lure of supernatural powers that attracted Astor's father, Lawrence Woodcraft, to Scientology. His story begins in San Francisco in 1974. Woodcraft had just finished his university education in England, earned his architecture's architect's license and was in the city on vacation. I was wandering around the city and someone came up to me and asked if I wanted a free personality test, Woodcraft recalled. That's their bait. Intrigued, he walked into his Scientology office in San Francisco. It seemed kind of weird to me, he said. They put me on the e-meter, they'd stare at me and ask me to define words. Back in London, Woodcraft signed up for an introductory Scientology course. Psychotherapy is the hook that gets you in, he said. Then they promised to reveal higher levels and the secret to life itself. Woodcraft's involvement deepened in 1977 when he married Leslie, who worked in the Scientology office in London. Don't y'all wonder how old Leslie was at that time? Astra was born in 1978, followed 5 years later by her sister Zoe. In 1986, Lawrence said the family got a call from Leslie in Florida. She joined the Church of Scientology's Sea organization. An intense, don't you love these definitions? An intense cadre of true believers, true indoctrinated, and wanted her family to join her in the States. And also, they're very notorious for recruiting children into the Sea Org, all with the stamp of the United States of America governments, as well as other world governments. Woodcraft flew to Florida with Astra Zoe and his 12-year-old stepson from his wife's previous marriage. I hated it, Astra said. All 5 of us lived in one little cockroach-ridden motel room. Oh, that coincides with... let me think here. I was just reading a very similar story to this. The 2 sisters, Beth and I think it was Krista, her sister, same stuff. But you know who's really okay with that? Clearwater PD is like super fine with all that. They're like so okay with it. Rather than working as an architect, the church position he thought he had landed. There's the bait, you guys. Woodcraft said he was assigned to a job monitoring Scientology auditors. So in other words, he was overseeing the child auditors. They told me to just do what I was told, he said. Sounds like Rinder. They said, now that you've joined the Sea Org, you have to join the greater purpose of clearing the planet. Astra said her mother was working long shifts in Clearwater. We hardly ever saw my mom, she said. At some point, I was moved into a dorm. It's not really a dorm. Maybe that's how they're trying to explain it. It's actually what they call birthing. They try to emulate the military with the children, of course. You know, and what I love the most is that the children are bunked right next to the adults. Isn't that fantastic, you guys? Later, the entire family was transferred to Scientology's international headquarters in Hollywood, the Blue Building. Astra said her formal education stopped at age 9. Another law broken, but you know, laws. Over the next few years, she was sent to a series of makeshift schools run by Scientologists. There were no lessons and hardly any books, she said. Mostly, we just hung around. California law requires that minors receive at least 20 hours of schooling per week. Unless you're in Scientology. No big deal then. What happened here? Keeps moving it. We were only getting 5 or 6 hours a week, Astra said. When she was 14. Young Woodcraft was recruited to follow her mother's footsteps and join the Sea organization. Funny how Rinder never talked about that. From age 14 to 19, she said she was working from 8 a.m. to 10:30 p.m., laboring for months without a day off, doing administrative work at the church, world headquarter building in Hollywood. I mean, thank God the Hollywood PD get their their overtime pay from the child labor, right? It's good money. Every week you're supposed to do more than the week before, she said. That's the productions. You are in such a state of paranoia. All these kids are running around yelling at you. They'll come up to you and yell, "What are you doing? Your statistics are down. What are your crimes?" Including about 500 under the age of 18, working long hours. All against the law, but, laws. But they said the Sea Org is a volunteer religious organization, like the Jesuits of the Roman Catholic Church, and thus exempt from child labor laws. That's how it was designed. Church leaders also stress that members of the Sea Org practice a very intense form of Scientology. What, slave labor? Like even more slave labor? It's much different, they say, from the larger worldwide body of rank-and-file Scientologists, the kids, who engage in a more individualized approach to the Hubbard philosophy. What, instead of working 12-hour shifts, you're going to work what? 24-hour shifts? Or like the story I just read where the young man, I really was impressed with the Churchill guy, where he worked four days straight and then he started to hallucinate as a chef on the Apollo. He got out of there, thank God. Scientology spokesman Aaron Mason, who worked with Astor at the church headquarters on Hollywood Boulevard, defended the schooling of minors in the church's Sea organization. Because that's all you need for validation. Just say it in the newspaper and then everything's good, you guys. They receive at least 20 hours of self-directed education using a series of check sheets based on L. Ron Hubbard's innovative study technology, he said. The ads are out of control on some of these sites. Members are brought into the Sea Org at an early age, Mason said, to begin learning the fundamentals of the religion. Imagine that they say it with a straight face. They say it with a straight face because they know there's not going to be any repercussions. They don't have to follow the laws. They can abuse all the children. They can neglect all the children, and nothing happens. Only time anything happens is when somebody dies. Then something happens. Then the cover-up begins. In my opinion. Much of that training, he concedes, is administrative work, but he insists that it is still part of the religious training. Mason took 2 visitors on a tour of the offices where Astor worked, rows of filing cabinets and charts, showing the growth of Scientology organizations around the world, line the walls. That's how they keep people donating as well. Sea Org members in mock Navy uniforms. Stolen valor, anyone? A vestige from the days when Hubbard ran Scientology from a ship in the Mediterranean. Bustle about the church offices. This is the command center for the network of 170 Scientology churches, training centers, and affiliated organizations, representing a purported 8 million adherents around the world. More like, first of all, those numbers are inaccurate. Second of all, I would use more like indoctrinated, mind-controlled. It's my opinion. Outside experts say that figure is greatly exaggerated. Nevertheless, there's no question the Church of Scientology has become one of the wealthiest and most successful of the many new religious movements born in the last half of the 20th century. Well, what did L. Ron Hubbard say? If you want to make a lot of money, start a religion. These are the most... oh, God, enough with this. They really... do people really believe this? These are the most dedicated Scientologists on the planet. Again, avoiding the word of child. Mason said of the workers in the Hollywood office, "This is the mother church. You only understand it if you compare it to other religious orders." Scientology is nowhere close to other religious orders. And there's that word again, like the Fraternal Order of the Police. Like all the other, like, Ordo Templis Orientis orders and all of these other orders. Like Chaos, Order out of Chaos. Down the hall at Scientology headquarters, young Sea Org recruits, otherwise known as children, practice using the e-meter by firing questions at a teddy bear subbing for a counseling client. We've got a picture here, but of course they didn't include of the children. I mean, they might have wanted to do that, but they knew that Scientology would come after them. Has anything been repressed? They asked the stuffed animal. Has anything been invalidated? Do you have a present time problem? Well, clearly Scientology has a present time problem. Where'd it go now? They move it again? And you didn't have one. Present time problem and you didn't have one. It's a strange scene, Mason concedes, but designed to give counselors in training, like children, like Serge Delmar and all these other young people that were auditors, working as employees, which is against the law. Yeah. A safe way to practice using the e-meter. If we did this with real people, he said, we could get people very spiritually muddled up. Working here are devotees, the indoctrinated, such as Kenny Davies, a Sea Org director of correction. Imagine that that's a title, you guys. They love to play dress up, don't they? Whose job consists of supervising counselors engaged in study and auditing sessions. Like kids. If there is some imperfect functioning area of the organization, I step in and find out what the difficulty is, he said. Oh, fearless leader. Davies, 28, joined the Sea Org cadets when he was just 10 years old. When he was just 10 years old, troll. 10 years old, 10 years old, 10 years old, child. His mother, a recently divorced single mom, there's the vulnerability, with 3 children, and then they get plus with those 3 kids, you see. Got involved in Scientology in St. Louis in 1977. When Davies was 4. Davies went to Scientology schools and said he prefers the independent study to the regular classes he attended during a brief time in public school. Oh, wait a minute, you guys. This guy must be still in. I'm confused. Okay, I'm sorry. Now I know. Imagine, you guys, this guy is saying it out in the open to a mass media publication. Are you starting to get the hint? Are you guys starting to put 2 and 2 together already? Today, Davies lives and works on a Los Angeles street named L. Ron Hubbard Way. Well, that's going to change soon. Which runs through a cluster of converted hospital buildings taken over by the Church of Scientology. Members of the Sea Org are provided food and housing, beans and rice, and given a small stipend of $45 to $50 a week to buy personal items. All that money in Scientology cannot provide food, cannot provide personal items. Just like the young lady that was upset that she couldn't get sanitary supplies on the Apollo. What I'm doing is not like working at McDonald's, he said. Oh, they love that about that whole thing with, if you leave Scientology, you're going to work at McDonald's. He said, I'm not doing it because I have to. I'm doing it because I love it. Yeah, you do. You love the power. And because it makes me happy to help people. That I can appreciate if it's legitimate. In December 1999, Davies married another Sea Org recruit. Notice how they don't talk about the age, do they? He joined at 10, right? Yeah, they Specifically did not mention the ages there, did they? Moving out of his dormitory, birthing, oh, finally they used that word, and into a private room with his new wife. And how many times have we heard that a lot of times the young people, they're just anxious to get married because you can't kiss a boy, you can't have any sexual relations or anything. Like most CR couples, this is too much, you guys. Like most CR couples, they understand that they are not supposed to have children. No, more like they're not allowed. And if one of the women does get pregnant, most of them, they try to heavily enforce having an abortion. I am very focused and busy doing what I want to do, he said. My wife feels very much the same way. Do you guys wonder if they're still married? Astor Woodcraft says she was tricked into joining the Sea Org over lunch with Scientology recruiters at Denny's restaurant in Hollywood. How many times have we heard about people going to Denny's? By the way, I love Denny's. Can't help it. Got a lot of fun memories at the Denny's restaurants. At a Denny's restaurant in Hollywood, she was offered a job at Bridge Publications, she said, which publishes books by L. Ron Hubbard. In the regular Sea Org, they only pay you $45 a week, but Bridge is a for-profit company, so they have to pay a minimum wage about $300 a week, she said. Wow, you guys, she's only 14 years old. No mention of mom and dad taking care of her, though, is there? That's why I'm very wary of a lot of these parents. I thought it would be great. I was 14, and I'd be making $300 a week. Astor signed the standard billing year contract promising loyalty to the Sea Org. They say you join the Sea Org for 1 billion years, and every time you die, you get a 21-year leave of absence between lifetimes, she said. It's ridiculous. Wow. Talk about putting the carrot on the stick, man. Wow, that's sick, man, you guys. It's so sick. The only way you're going to get a vacation is if you die or drop your body. That's messed up. Once she signed up, however, Astor was told she would be working not at Bridge Publications, there's a bait and switch again, but for Scientology's International Justice Chief for $45 a week as a secretary. Here we go, guys. At age 15, she married a 22-year-old Scientologist who also grew up in the movement. That same year, Woodcraft became an ethics officer, authorized to mete out punishment to anyone breaking Scientology rules. It is not uncommon in the Sea Org to have young teenagers supervising and disciplining other members 2 or 3 times their age, she said. I've heard a lot of stories like this. It's the inversion, you guys. It's like in George Orwell's novel, 1984, when they have all the kids spying on their parents, she said. It's another good movie or book to read. Meanwhile, Astor's mother and father got divorced. Of course they did. Her dad left Scientology, hoping his 2 daughters would eventually follow his lead. Those hopes brightened when her paternal grandmother died, and Astor persuaded her wary Scientology bosses to let her attend the funeral in England. Imagine that you have to beg to go to a family member's funeral. They're afraid people are going to leave, and there's a reason. That's not a religion, it's a cult. They are paranoid about external influences, she said. They are worried that if people get too much of a glimpse of normal life, they'll want to leave. Her week in England with her father and his family did give Astor a window to another world. She began thinking of ways to get out of her marriage and out of Scientology. I guess it's like that when you get married at 15 years old. Her week in England with her father and... never mind. Her solution, strange as it seems, was to get pregnant. If you get pregnant, they'll send you to one of their smaller, lower-level organizations. In reality, you're very heavily pressured to get an abortion. It's Moloch. But I figured it was my only way to get out. Church leaders say Scientology has no policy on abortion. That's another unlawful policy, by the way. Leaving the choice up to individual couples. They always love that word individual. Yet they're always stamping out everyone's individuality. That's how this was created, you guys. But Melton, the new religious scholar, said the Sea organization does discourage procreation among Sea Org couples. They don't look at children as a resource, but a problem, he said. Children take people offline, so they discourage members of the Sea Org from having children. With that knowledge, Aster Woodcraft decided to get pregnant, but not tell her husband. 2 months later, Woodcraft suddenly left her husband and her religion. She got a day off from work and never went back. Good. Instead, she headed to the airport intent on fleeing to England, seeking refuge with her relatives and having her baby there. Her brother and a Scientology security guard, there you go, there's the handlers, intercepted her at Los Angeles International Airport, she said, even trying to grab her ticket. Wouldn't you guys love to hear all the stories of the Los Angeles International Airport, of the Scientology stuff that goes on? I would. Woodcraft, well, and then, of course, now with all the security, that'd be kind of hard. Woodcraft got on the plane once in England. However, her family and church leaders persuaded her to return to Los Angeles and take the formal steps required to officially leave the Sea Org. They never let you do it, by the way. What was it? The lady, her first name is Lori Hodgson or something. She left, and that's a whole really sad story, another sad story. And then they kept trying to push her to do the A through E steps. She didn't want to do it. That included submitting to a confessional admitting her misdeeds and signing a non-disclosure statement. That's the key right there, you guys. That's what they wanted. That is what they wanted. How many stories have we heard about people signing NDA agreements under duress and coercion? But yet it's still going on, and the courts are not throwing it out. Doesn't it make you wonder why? I had to promise I'd never say anything to anyone, and that I was a really bad person, and did all these horrible things. It's a shame, and that the church never did anything wrong, and did great things for me, said Woodcraft, who does not consider the statement a legal contract. Woodcraft said she signed the statement to avoid being declared as oppressive. The Scientology excommunication order forbidding family and friends in the church from having any contact with her. If you're not raised in Scientology, this all sounds crazy, but when you're brought up in it, it's all you know, she said. You think there's something wrong with you for wanting to leave. It's how it's designed. You actually do the mind control on yourself. In July 1998, Woodcraft received a detailed bill from the Church of Scientology International office in Los Angeles, demanding payment for all the free training courses and auditing sessions she had received while in the Sea Org. The total amount, this is the debt servitude, the total amount was $89,526. Today, Aster lives in her father's Van Nuys home with her 2-year-old daughter and 16-year-old sister who left the church last year. Thank God her sister got out young. I mean, there's already enough damage done. Her mother and stepbrother remained in the Sea Org, along with her maternal grandmother. According to Astra and Lawrence Woodcraft, their family has spent at least $100,000 of inherited money on Scientology classes. Her mother, Leslie Woodcraft, declined to be interviewed. You got to earn the right to be a mother. You can't just call yourself a mother if you're not being a mother. But in a written statement, she charged that Astor was being conned by people from the Lisa McPherson Trust, an anti-Scientology group in Florida that is trying to pry money out of Scientology. Both of my daughters were raised in Scientology, Leslie Woodcraft wrote. Both of my daughters are free to make their own decisions about their spiritual futures. Guess that wasn't the case, though, when Astra joined the Sea Org at 14, huh? Meanwhile, Lawrence Woodcraft was officially declared a suppressive person, next, by the very office that once employed his daughter. There's no loyalty. His alleged crimes, including his efforts to assist blown staff members. That is Scientology lingo for helping his two daughters leave the church. That's what fathers are supposed to do, by the way. Now it's Astor who finds herself on the verge of excommunication. They tell people they have to get family members into agreement with Scientology or disconnect, Astor said. They split up families. Scientology officially sees it differently. Astor, they say, is the one who violated the tenets of the church and disgraced her family. It was the church, they say, that kept Astor from drugs and petty crime. And it is Astor, they contend, who is attempting to extort money by working with the Lisa McPherson Trust, which has a civil suit pending against the church. As proof, Mason provided a copy of the May 1998 affidavit Astor signed to be released from her billion-year, multi-life Sierra contract. In it, she admits to such crimes as getting into yelling matches with my boss. And taking nylons from a Sea Org colleague. I mean, even she did that, like, she has no money, so I mean, like, unreal. She also said 5 years in Sea Org stopped me from becoming more unethical, and it saved my relationship with my family and stopped me from going downhill. As for the church's assertion that Scientology saved her from the D word, Woodcraft said her illegal D use was limited to experimentation with marijuana. She also denied Mason's charges that she is trying to get money from the Church of Scientology, or that she has received money from anti-Scientology groups. They always use the same stuff over and over and over and over. They can't find new created stories. I'm not looking for any money and I'm not suing them, she said. I had something to say and now I just want to get on with life, with my life. So that's by Don Lattin, February 12th, 2001. I'll leave a link in the description box. Like and subscribe if you choose. Otherwise, have an amazing day or night wherever you are. Peace.